Welcome to EVTN News, your source for veganos' every move, and we identify as the #1 news channel on Twitter and YouTube. I don't know why I said Twitter. Anyway, today I am doing a different day for EVTN News. Usually it's Mondays. It's going to fit in better with the schedule this week if I do it today. And I don't know about next week either. Next week there is All Saints Day, November 1st on Monday. So I don't know when I'll be doing EVTN News. And let me know what you think about this EVTN News program. Because it seems like, I mean, there are a decent number of views, 100, there's a little over 100 views. Am I presenting information that you're finding other places? Because I know for a fact that Matt Gaspers does a news segment on Catholic Family News, and they do a weekly news program as well. So let me know what you think as far as EVTN News goes, because if I'm not getting the views, that's why I stopped doing the editing in the first place. I would do edits for each segment, and now I'm just doing live streams because it's a lot quicker for me. I spend a decent bit of time compiling this information, but if it's not going to be a popular program, then no reason for me to do that. So anyway, let's get started. Pope Benedict had he actually did have a reaction to Traditionis Custodes, and this was published. And so I'm going to read you a little bit about this. Very high-ranking and extremely trustworthy sources, according to Gloria TV, and the Roman Curia have confirmed to Luigi Castellini of Messa in Latino it that Diane Montana's revelation about the making of Traditionis Custodes are totally exact and true down to the last detail. On January 29th, 2020, a plenary session of the Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith, 27 members, dealt with the dissolution of the Old Rite Ecclesia Dei Commission. Remember that? I wasn't sure what to think about it, but it was dissolved. In the process, Curia Cardinals Perlin, Ouellet, and Versaldi appeared as campaigners against the Roman Mass, which was against the Latin Mass. Other members criticized the fact that many young people attend the Old Mass. One cardinal supposedly trained in psychology said that 13,000 go on the Chartreuse pilgrimage, and that many suffer from psychological problems. So they're saying that the young people who like the Old Mass, it's not that the Old Mass is popular. It's that they don't like that the young people like the Old Mass, so there must be something wrong with the people. It's not that the Latin Mass is more reverent, it's that the young people must have some psychological problems. This is what we're dealing with in the Vatican. This is the hostility we're dealing with. In May 2020, Francis launched his survey on the Roman Rite addressed to the bishops. It was completed in January 2021. Afterwards, Francis repeatedly claims that its negative results convinced him to take action against the Roman Mass. Now, remember, I did a video on this, several people did a video on this survey, and it seemed like the questions were very direct towards suspicion of the Latin Mass. Montaigne convicts Francis of lying. The results of the survey were not what Francis claims. Only some bishops reported negatively about the Old Mass. From the countries where the Old Mass is very widespread, including France and the USA, there was a lot of feedback. Over 50% were positive. Well, that would definitely slash Francis's claim. Over 35% of the bishops said Summorum Pontificum should remain unchanged. Another third wanted only minor changes. But Francis abolished Summorum Pontificum, citing a, quote, wish of the bishops. Montaigne mentions, okay, here's the bulk of the story. Here's what the story was leading to. That was all summary. Montaigne mentions that Benedict XVI was informed in June 2021 about the drafts of Traditionis Custodes circulating at the time, and he was shocked. There you go. There's Benedict's reaction. So there's that. The rising cost of canonizations, some cases have cost over 750,000 euros, which I think is pretty close to a million US dollars. Francis has published some regulations. The postulator, that is the person who collects materials, documents, and writes the positio, the biography that attests to the holy life of the candidate, has the right to be paid proportionate to the work carried out. So if they think the value of their work is more than $1 million, maybe it's $2 million, um, maybe they'll charge that much. So there you go. The cost of canonizations, it might have gone up. And I think the problem is, I haven't read Dr. Kwasniewski's book on the are canonizations infallible, but based on what I've heard about the canonizations for the last 50 years, um, I don't know. It seems like some really crazy business. Because if you look at it, how much does, you have to pay a bunch of money to even get considered, for this person to even get considered to be canonized as saint. But then you have just random saints canonized, and like, where's the devotion to Pope Paul VI? They had to canonize Vatican II. Anyway, Polish priests show interest in the SSPX, and you have to run this article through Google Translate, and as you know, you can find the article links in the description of this video. In the last 3 years, a desire to join the priestly fraternity of St. Pius X in Poland was expressed by 10 diocesan religious priests who wanted to save their souls and save their priesthood. A significant tide has occurred in recent months and has to do with the motu proprio, Traditionis Custodes of Pope Francis. This created a need to organize formation meetings, the aim of which would be to enable new probationist priests, i.e., those serving under probation in a trial period, to get to know the spirituality of the Archbishop's work as much as possible. So, SSPX in Poland, it seems like they're going to be expanding. And there are a bunch of priests that are interested in joining. Surprise, surprise, right? No name professor publishes a book critical of Scott Hahn. So this no name guy is Sean Swain Martin. He actually he spent so much time. He was so obsessed with Dr. Scott Hahn. He actually wrote his dissertation on the topic of this book. It's called American Pope, Scott Hahn and the Rise of American Fundamentalism. From his Twitter bio, he is an assistant professor of religious studies at Viterbo University. I have no idea where that is. I don't know where he got his dissertation from, but it seems like basically any Jesuit college or any modernist Catholic, modernist college that would call themselves Catholic, I would imagine that they would fully support any dissertation on the work of trashing Dr. Scott Hahn or anyone who even appears remotely Catholic. And it's just the sad state of Catholic universities, but they would allow this crap to be published. And so here's a description of the book, and I'm sure none of you are going to buy it. It says, as arguably the most influential voice in American Catholicism, the vision that Scott Hahn offers in his works, read by millions of Catholics throughout the world, is one of the most formative in American Catholicism. His numerous books and public speaking engagements are shaping the American Catholic Church in a uniquely powerful manner. This work demonstrates that the Catholic vision that Hahn claims to be providing his audience is, in fact, always quite different from the one he actually presents. What he coins as Catholic faithfulness is instead a straightforward and damning Catholic fundamentalism. As this vision is delivered to millions of the faithful who look to Hahn as a trustworthy guide to an authentic life of Catholic faith, American Pope acts as a critical analysis of his work. All right, how many of you have read Rome Sweet Home, and how many of you enjoyed it? That's really the last comment I have on that, because I thought it was a pretty good book. That was my opinion. All right, Pope Francis made remarks during a world meeting of Popular Movements, a shadowy organization created to promote social justice and fight racism with the help of religious leaders. He said, quote, in the name of God, I ask the technology giants Stop exploiting human weakness, people's vulnerability for the sake of profits without caring about the spread of hate speech, grooming, fake news, conspiracy theories, and political manipulation. So he basically wants. All right, so let me break this down. Okay, so hate speech. I mean, are we going to talk about promoting the Catholic faith? No, we're not. Hate speech, fake news, conspiracy theories, political manipulation. Hmm. Sounds an awful lot like Pope Francis is really wanting these social media technology companies to stomp out hmm, certain political ideas. And then there's grooming in there. Well, we know what happened with McCarrick and Pope Francis. Maybe you should take a look in the mirror. Anyway, Amazon Synod Part 2. Indigenous ceremony took place in the Diocese of San Bernardino, California. Not quite the Amazon Synod. I'm not going to overreact to that. There was a pagan demon. So on Twitter, Deacon Nick Donnelly commented, "Looks like Aztec demonic spirits were invoked at the diocesan opening mass, the Synod at Queen of Angels, Riverside, California, on October 17th, 2021. Um, I forget who the Bishop of San Bernardino, California is. It's not Gomez. And the photo Deacon Donnelly posted shows a man dressed as an Aztec jaguar demon Tezcatlipoca. So there you go. And I have included two links here for you. Links to the YouTube video of the Mass. And I thought it was a very interesting Mass. They had both Spanish and English parts of the Mass. And they didn't repeat them. And so it was like, okay, they prayed this prayer in Spanish and this prayer in English. Very bizarre. And then they have these people in native headdresses, and it's ridiculous. So this is what their thought on the Synod on Synodality. This is their interpretation of that. And also probably the bishop is trying to get a promotion, which if he's doing that kind of pagan nonsense, then he probably will. And speaking of the Amazon Synod, Pope Francis created an Amazon Synod Bishops Conference. This was in the works for a while. Cardinal Mark Ouellette, the prefect of Congregation for Bishops, was given papal approval of the new ecclesial conference envisaged by the 2019 Amazon Synod. So LifeSite said, here's a quote from LifeSite. With the new ecclesial conference established in light of the Amazon Synod, it will likely seek to implement measures outlined in the Synod itself and its controversial final document. Paragraph 115 of the document, which gave birth to the new ecclesial conference, states that such a body would promote integral ecology, synodality, as well as the many proposals that emerge in the Synod. Among the many proposals raised by the Amazon Synod in its final document are the opening of the clerical state to women and the admitting of married men ordained to the priesthood in an attempt to make the church more appealing to Catholics in the region. So there you go. There were some people that were celebrating the Amazon Synod final document because it didn't include ordination of women or married priests. However, and I think I don't want to quote this for sure, but I think some people even went so far as to say the Amazon Synod final document. No, that's not true. I'm going to scratch that. Anyway, let's move on. There's a bishop who rejected the Synod on Synodality, so that's positive news. It's Archbishop Wolfgang Haas of Vaduz, Liechtenstein. And the name Wolfgang is pretty awesome. I mean, if I had a son, that would definitely be in consideration. He said that his archdiocese won't take part in this 2-year global synodal process. Now, Liechtenstein is a very small country in Europe, and so I would imagine his diocese spans that entire country. He wrote, "I am of the opinion that in our small archdiocese it is possible, for good reasons, to refrain from carrying out such a complex and sometimes even complicated procedure which in our parts runs the risk of becoming ideological." Really? Well, but anyway, good on him. Like, really good on him. Because I don't think any of the bishops in the United States are going to ignore this or disregard it. I think they're all going to participate. And I have a bishop who's standing against it, and that's good. Uh, Latvia, just bishops shut down masses again. And Benedict Carter wrote on Twitter, starting shortly in the Baltic nation of Latvia, the SSPX Mass will be the only Mass which the faithful can attend in person. New lockdown is starting. The government has not closed the churches. The bishops have unilaterally announced that Mass will be online only. So here we have a situation where the bishops are voluntarily shutting down Mass again, and which is crazy, absolutely insane. And I know there is a sentiment among bishops in the United States that shutting down Masses the first time was a mistake. I don't know if any of them have said that publicly or not, but I think that they realize what a mistake it was, and that's good if they recognize that, even though they don't publicly say it. Let's just see if they stand true to that. But anyway, getting back to Benedict Carter, he has a YouTube channel called The Garden Shed where he does a church militant parody, which is hilarious, I think. And Frank Walker has promoted those videos as well. I don't know if you like parody videos, check out The Garden Shed on YouTube. I think he calls it The Latex, and it's his parody of Church Militant. So check that out if you're interested in some laughs. Cardinal Dolan is concerned about the Vatican-China deal. So, in reference to the Vatican-China deal, Cardinal Dolan said, "My gut tells me that you can't negotiate with these people. It would be extraordinarily counterproductive." He recalled a conversation with former Hong Kong Cardinal Joseph Zen. He said, "Cardinal Zen told me, take it from me, this cannot work. They want to exterminate us, and this will expedite that." So, Cardinal Dolan, this is interesting because a lot of bishops and cardinals in particular are just mouthpieces for Pope Francis, but questioning any of these things, especially these horrible things like the Vatican China deal, this is certainly an interesting turning point. I don't think it's going to be necessarily like a major turning point for Cardinal Dolan, but people are waking up. It's very slow, and I think this Synod on Synodality is going to. I think it has the potential for a lot of people to wake up if they haven't already, or at least um, it could be a turning point where a lot of bishops openly resist Pope Francis. I hope. Do you think that's very good to see? I don't know. I don't know if that's going to actually work or not, but we'll see. We'll find out. New Zealand bishops promote joint baptism ceremonies with Lutherans. So they released a document, and there's some quotes here. They said a parent couple that includes both a Catholic and a Lutheran partner are encouraged to bring their child for baptism in the church of their choice. Okay. They may seek to have both of their pastors/priests participate in the baptismal service. Well, I said okay to the first one. I'm going to say not okay. And I'm going to change that statement to not okay for both senses. And there's another sentence here I will read. Where the persons in the other church are invited to serve as godparents to a child who is being baptized, they are encouraged to take this responsibility with full commitment. The persons from the other church are invited to serve as godparents. So this contradicts canon law. Because if you're getting your child baptized in the Catholic Church, they must have a Catholic sponsor, what we know as godparents. But this is ridiculous. That's all I can say. New Zealand bishops, have they apostatized from the faith? I don't know. Archbishop Jackals endorses liquefied cremation. Archbishop Jackals of Dubuque, Iowa, wrote a letter stating how burial is an environmental issue. He said that cremation was also a threat to the environment, and then proceeded to endorse a liquefied cremation, which liquefies the body, which can be poured into the ground. But liquefied burial, he had a quote here from his statement. He said, "But is it liquefied burial more offensive than the process involved and embalming the body, dressing up like a child's doll, and applying makeup to it? Or is it more offensive than the church practice of cutting a saint's body into pieces for relics? And isn't traditional burial disrespectful to God's good green earth? And so we're concerned about the environment, and so we're going to disregard the practice of burial and instead liquefy the body and pour it back into the earth. Sounds very pagan to me. And Bishop Jackals has had some really interesting statements. Not Catholic ones, but interesting nonetheless. Bishop Glenn Provost of Lake Charles, Louisiana, said that there's no prohibition of the Latin Mass in any chapel in his diocese. It appears he will grant all priests permission to say the Latin Mass if they request it. So here's a good bishop. He's allowing all priests to say the Mass, and that's good. As opposed to bishops who are saying, well, none of the priests can say the Mass, Latin Mass in my diocese, and meanwhile, they're having priest problems. Wonder why. Let's see. Liturgical text is no longer needed to be in Latin. And I found a quote from Dr. Peter Kwasniewski. He said a new Vatican decree has dropped postquam summus pontifex, changing canon law in regard to liturgical translations. This document is fairly long and has a lot of standard stuff on it, but there first time in history since arguably the 4th century, the normative edition of a liturgical book can be in a language other than Latin. Why is that significant? Well, not many can speak or write in Latin anymore, but the existence of a Latin edito typica meant that a single stable reference point. It meant a single stable reference point for all translations. It was a symbolic and practical means for maintaining some kind of coherence. Not much, admittedly, but it was always present. So, in keeping with this shift away from Latin, the decree says that more radical adaptations, parentheses, enculturations, think Amazon, right, will be possible, including new texts drawn up solely in the vernacular and subject only to the approval of episcopal conferences. There's more that can be said, but my takeaway is this. The process of denaturing and destabilizing the worship of the Latin Rite Church was just given an additional boost. The new decree follows on pseudo-history and pseudo-theology of Traditionis Custodes, with its voluntaristic attribution of the authority of the supposedly authentically Roman lex orandi of the Novus Ordo of Saints Paul VI and John Paul II. So, what we're going to get is what is possible here is that we can have in the United. All right, it looks like my Wi-Fi took a little break. So anyway, what we have here is that in the United States, the Novus Ordos are in English. So they're also largely in English in Canada and in England. But we could have different variations of the Novus Ordo, even though it's in the vernacular, which is English, in Canada and England. But we could have different masses because each bishop's conference is going to determine that. So that's pretty interesting. Okay. And speaking of Canada, Bishop R. Anthony Daniels of Grand Falls, Windsor, Newfoundland and Labrador in Canada requires the jab to attend Mass. What a sad situation, and what a pathetic bishop. That's what I have to say on that. So, let's see here. I trust low-tech channels more. I want to reduce my viewing of YouTube to only a few channels, so I like yours for my info. Thank you very much, Heather. The Amazon Bishops Conference follows the Diamond Brothers on Twitter. Really? I'm getting into the comments. Wonder if any of them would have realized it was a mistake because SSPX attendance increased. Dolan seems like Spellman 2.0, okay in some spots, but overall not good. I don't know that I'd compare Dolan to Spellman. I mean, Spellman was, he was, yeah. Dolan's just tolerant of people. I think Spellman actually participated in the activities. New Zealand and Germany in full communion, but not the society. Bishop Jackal sounds like Hel Helvidius with that comment on relics. If only we had a modern Saint Jerome. Thought they were supposed to retain. I thought we were supposed to retain Latin. Yeah, that's a good point. Trendy Web. Vatican II says we're supposed to retain Latin, but based on the recent developments, doesn't seem the case. So, okay, this has been EVTN News. Um, I'm keeping you up to date with your source for information. Thank you so much for watching. We are the laity, and we will not be silent.